Dan Gregory.
Pleasure welcome back. The author of the best-selling book called Debt Crisis, Jacques Jaikaran. Hello, Jacques.
Debt virus, virus like AIDS virus.
Debt virus. What did I say, crisis?
Yeah.
And, well, I'll tell you one thing. The way we're going is getting to be a crisis, Jacques.
No, it's not going to be. It is a crisis.
Already?
Yep.
What is it? Can you explain and discuss, because I was asked to ask you the question, to discuss how banks create money out of thin air.
Well, first, before we can explain that, we have to tell people what is money.
Okay.
Money is any generally accepted medium of exchange. In other words, something you can walk into a 7-Eleven or a Stop and Go or a department store, you give them that, and you can walk away with a product or a service.
Okay.
Today, what we use for money is called cash, which is the currency, the bills that we walk around in our wallet.
Right.
Coins, and something much more important, it's called checkbook money. And it's transferred by check. When you write a check, you're transferring numbers from one place to another.
Correct.
Now, those numbers are not represented by any cash. Now, when we speak of the money supply, what all economists and financial, advisors talk about, or people who advise governments and what economists talk about, they speak of the money supply.
Okay.
And the only money supply that has any interest in the marketplace is the M1. And the definition of the M1 is cash, which is the Federal Reserve notes, plus the coins, plus checkbook money.
When you say the coins, you're talking about copper coins, you're talking about nickels.
Yeah, copper coins or, quarters, nickels, dimes.
Yeah, okay.
Okay? And checkbook money. And now if you look and see what percent, if we break that down and see what the percentage is, the coins is like 3% of the M1. The cash, which is the Federal Reserve notes, is like 22%. And the checkbook money is like 75% of the M1. Okay, so the bulk of the money supply
is cash. Is a check.
Is checkbook money.
Checkbook money.
Now, that is the stuff that banks create. If you go to the bank and you want to make a loan,
yes.
Say you want to buy a car, you go to your banker and you go to your friend bank and says, hey, Joe, I want to borrow $10,000.
Correct.
They'll look at your financial statement and your ability to repay $10,000. And they said, okay, you're able to pay back over a 2-year period or a 3-year or whatever arrangement you make with them.
Okay.
And you sign a note with them, a promise to pay them back so much money, $10,000 plus interest.
Correct.
And then they deposit $10,000 in your checking account.
Where do they get the $10,000 from?
Out of this thin air. They don't transfer it from any account anywhere.
You mean they just create 10,000?
Yes. You see, money is not an element of nature. It's a creation of man.
Okay, let me ask you this, Jacques.
Yes.
Any of our currency backed at all with any intrinsic value coins, like, for example, silver or gold?
No. Hold it. You want to find something really interesting?
Yes.
You have your wallet with you?
I do.
Take one of the bills out. Anyone. Take a $1, $5, or 10, whatever.
Okay. Let me get it out. Hold on. Okay.
Now I want you to read it, where it says on top, Federal Reserve notes.
That's correct.
Okay? And then in the left-hand top corner there, in some fine print, it says this note is legal tender for all debts, public and private.
Correct. Correct.
Okay, which one are you holding, a 5, 10, or what?
5.
A 5. Now, do you know what a note is, Dan?
A note is just a piece of paper indicating that it's a note.
No, wait a minute. No, the note has a legal definition.
Tell me.
A note is a promise to pay something definite by a certain period of time. That means the time limit has to be on it. And it has to say exactly to whom it's paying. And if it doesn't say to whom, if it doesn't have a name to whom you're going to pay it, then it should say on demand to bearer.
Well, but all it says...
Just a minute, let me finish.
All right.
And the fourth thing that must be present in that note to make it valid, a valid note, it's got to be signed by the maker. 4 conditions must be set for a note to be a legal piece of paper.
When you say the maker...
The maker is the Federal Reserve, whoever is making a note up.
Okay.
Who's making a promise to pay.
Yeah.
Okay? Not even one of the 4 conditions that's required for a note to be legal is present on that piece of paper that you're holding.
So you're saying we're holding a bogus...
That's a piece of paper, nothing more. It doesn't promise to pay you anything.
it's not valued.
That's correct. The only reason people accept it in the marketplace is because they've been brainwashed a long time ago when those notes were backed by gold and silver.
So what are we doing? Are we running an economy on false paper?
On pieces of paper, on numbers and books and banks. There's not. If you take that to a bank and said you want, because a note is a promise to pay something real.
Okay.
Okay? But that doesn't promise you anything.
But if I went to the bank and I wanted to do what?
If you want to exchange that.
For what?
So you want to redeem it because a note is something that's redeemable.
Okay, so if I wanted to redeem this, what can I redeem it for?
They'll give you another one just like that, or I'll give you 5 1.
Or coins.
Or 20 quarters, you know?
Yeah.
Right. They cannot give because that doesn't promise to pay anything.
What if I said, well, I want to have a piece of silver?
Oh, no, you can't. Well, yeah, you might be able to go and, buy some from a coin dealer or something like that.
Yeah.
But you see, the coins are...
So, Jacques, that would be the wise thing to do. Get these garbage paper, this piece of junk that we have in our hands, in our pockets, in our wallets.
I think the wise people eventually are going to be doing that.
And then buy some old silver dollars, pre-1935.
Right.
And get some 10th ounce, quarter ounce, half ounce pieces of gold.
I agree totally with you. I advocate that myself. As a matter of fact, I'm in the process of doing that for myself.
At least this way, you've got something, whereas this is nothing.
Correct, because any day, what would happen tomorrow if you go to the supermarket with that piece of paper and the owner of the supermarket said, I'm sorry, this is not redeemable with anything, all it is just a piece of paper. I'm not going to give you something with intrinsic value for something that has no intrinsic value.
Now, what is it that you feel, Jacques, after you wrote Dead Virus, and the reason you wrote it? Why did you write this book?
I wrote it to educate the people as to what has been happening to them, who the real money creators are.
Who are they?
The banks, the privately owned Federal Reserve banks and the commercial banks that own the Federal Reserve Bank.
Okay, now these banks, these Federal Reserve banks,
all privately owned.
They're all privately owned, and they've got nothing to do with the government.
That's correct.
So why does the government indicate that they are part of the government?
No, they're not. Because the courts have ruled in 1982 in a case called Lewis versus the United States that the Federal Reserve banks are all private corporations owned by their member banks in each region.
So what is the connection of them being with the United States government?
No, they're totally independent. All they do is just they manage the money system for the government.
But they get a hefty chunk of it, don't they?
Oh, they get it all because they create money out of the thin air. And besides that, no one has ever audited their books. So we don't even know.
Will we ever get that, Jacques?
Huh?
Will we ever get that?
Get what?
An auditing of the Federal Reserve?
No. But look, can you come and audit my corporation?
But if you're supposed to be part of the Federal Reserve, Federal Bank, federal government...
They're privately owned.
Then it's all a hoax, then.
Yes. It's the greatest scam that's ever been perpetrated on the American citizen.
And you know, and you mean to tell me that our congressmen and senators don't know this?
I think many of them know it, but I think they're part of the problem as well.
You mean they haven't got any balls?
Well, that's probably true.
Unbelievable.
No, I mean...
and these banks are raking in billions and trillions of dollars.
Yes.
Worldwide.
Sure. You see, and who actually look over their books? The Federal Reserve examiners, right? Examiners from the Federal Reserve. Coming to see if the banks are complying with the rules and regulations that the Federal Reserve set up. Well, gee, that's like having the fox watching over the hen house.
That's right. Are people wising up to all of this in some way? Well, what is the function of the banking chairman, Henry Gonzalez, then? Is it just perfunctory?
No, well, I think he's beginning to... He has a bill in front of the Congress right now. It's called 1214, H.R. 1214.
Yeah.
And that is going to put the entire banking system under the control of a board that is appointed by the Congress. See, right now...
Well, wait a second, Jacques. Do you mean to tell me that the powerful Alan Greenspan, spokesman for the director, he's the Federal Reserve chairman.
Yeah.
You mean to tell me that he and all of his cronies, the guys who are the multi-billionaires, they're going to allow Congress to have an overseer?
Well, I'm sure they're going to want to keep what they have. But I think once the people start to find out more about this, and more people are beginning to find out, because I don't know if you ever listen to late night radio.
Oh, I do.
Oh, people like William Cooper.
No, never heard of him.
Never heard of William Cooper?
No.
Okay, he's on shortwave on 5810.
Okay. Have you heard of Chuck Harder?
Oh, yeah, I know Chuck Harder.
Okay.
He doesn't talk about Federal Reserve.
He doesn't?
No.
Why?
Because he thinks that is a no-no subject, because he wants to stay in business.
Okay.
But William Cooper talks about them every night. A fella in Dallas by the name of Charlie Jones speak out against the Federal Reserve. More and more people are beginning to talk about the Federal Reserve.
Are they network guys or are they local?
No, they're local. But it goes into surrounding states.
It goes into surrounding states?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's wide enough that it gets to a few other states.
Okay. Now, what is the bottom line here now, Jacques? Is there going to be something happening in Congress?
Well, no, I think it's going to
Under
come...
Gonzalez?
It's going to come from the people. Well, yeah, Henry Gonzalez has a bill there to want for us to take over the money system back, to put the money creation process back in the hands of the Treasury.
Yeah.
But I don't think the Congress is going to do anything about it until the people start getting to their congressmen.
Well, recently, there's the fellow, you remember Jerry Brown, the governor of California?
Yes.
He's got his own talk show.
Oh, he does?
Yeah. And he's on here locally at night.
Uh-huh.
And he's network.
Okay.
He's in, I think, 40 states.
I see.
And he told us, was it last night or night before, of how they don't want us to go above, or below rather, unemployment rate of 6%. It used to be 3%, and now it's 6%. And they said if it's because of the way it is structured, the wealthy and those who have the jobs and control the jobs can keep, he did such a superb job of explaining it, of how it is so controlled. Unemployment is controlled, how the wages are controlled, and how it is being run, so-called free enterprise in this United States.
So you're right. It's so-called free enterprise.
So-called.
Yes.
What did you think of NAFTA passing?
Oh, I don't think that's good for the United States. I think it's bad for the United States.
And look how we were being fooled and lied to, of saying how wonderful Mexico was coming along.
Oh, surprise, surprise.
And then we have the Civil War almost ready to go on in Mexico.
And you know what? The media here is really not covering half of what's actually happening over there.
They don't want to cover it.
Because a lot more is happening over there than we are told.
Why don't you think they want us to know?
You really want to know?
Yeah.
Okay. You want to go back into some history? Find out?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right.
But you know what we're going to do first? Jacques, what we're going to do first is take a commercial break.
Okay.
Author of Debt Virus, a compelling solution to the world's debt crisis and even our own personal crisis. Jacques, we're back again.
Yes.
And let's pick up where we left off.
Oh, we were talking about, so what is their agenda?
Correct.
Well, first of all, let's find out exactly what their agenda is.
Well, let me ask you this, Jacques, as we get into the program. Is it your feeling that they do want to control through a one world order?
They're already controlling it.
Oh, boy.
Something happened in this country in 1933.
Yeah.
The Depression started in 1929.
Correct.
In 1933, remember the bank holidays, the banks were closed?
That's what I heard. I remember that.
March 4th.
Yeah.
From March 6th to the 9th,
yeah,
banks were closed. And the reason for that is they did something in this country in 1933. Roosevelt did it.
What was that?
They invoked the War Powers Act. And it's the public law is 2039.
And what does it state?
It declared the American citizens the enemy of the federal government.
What?
You're not going to believe it, but if you want me to fax you the document, and it's in the congressional record,
the American citizen is
an enemy of the federal government.
Holy mackerel.
The state of war still exists.
On what grounds was this being done?
Because they invoked, because there was what's known as a crisis, an economic crisis.
Yeah.
The Federal Reserve, the board of the Federal Reserve Bank of New York, they wrote the bill that they wanted Roosevelt to pass. You see, when the United States became bankrupt in 1933, the creditors were the banks.
Mm-hmm.
So the government The federal government couldn't borrow any more money from the bank. So the only way they could continue to borrow money was the Federal Reserve Bank told the government that, look, the only way we can continue to extend credit to you is as collateral, you have to put up the life, labor, and property of every citizen of the United States, all 50 states.
And that means what exactly?
That means we are like chattel property to the international bankers.
So what can they do to us?
Let me finish.
Okay.
Do you realize that you do not own your car, even if you pay off for it? Look at your title that you get. It says warranty of title. It doesn't say title. The title belongs to the state because the title is put up as a collateral to back up the national debt. The same thing with your home. Even if you pay off your home, you don't have a title to your home. You have a deed of title. You have a warranty deed for your home.
You mean they can come and take your car or home away?
Yes.
On what grounds?
Just a minute. In order to keep it, you have to keep on paying a rent for your car. You know that tag that you pay a certain amount every
year.
Every year?
Yeah.
If you don't pay that, what happens? The police come and take your car away. Because it's not yours. You're basically renting it from the state. The same thing with your home. The rent you pay, they try to give it a different name. It's called a property tax. You try to stop paying the property tax and see what happens to your property. The state takes it away.
Is there any way to get around it?
Yes. We have to first of all, the only person that can remove this War Powers Act, it's called Trading with the Enemy Act.
Yeah.
It can bring it to an end is the president. Not the Congress and not the secretary.
What can he do?
He has to say, all right, we are not in a state of war anymore, and so this has now been dissolved.
And that means he's a dead man the next day.
Well, it probably is. But you know what? This information has just only been, in the past 3 weeks ago, been retrieved.
No kidding.
Yep.
How come it was hidden all this time?
Because these are hidden in thousands and thousands of pages of congressional records.
And nobody's aware of them.
And nobody's aware of them.
How was someone able
That's why now it makes sense why the president can rule under emergency powers. Because, they pass what's known as executive orders.
Yes, yes.
They don't need to go to the Congress or to the Senate. Because when there's a state of war, and there is a state of war between the federal government and the citizens of the United States. Because there's...
What if you have legally gone to the court for clerk of the courts,
yeah,
and made a declaration of you being a sovereign citizen of the Republic of the United States of America?
Yeah, you can do that.
And that takes you off of that hook.
Well, not only that's true, but then you have to dissolve all the other adhesion contracts you have.
For example?
Like your Social Security, your driver's license, the bank, your...
You don't have to, but you're able to do so.
Yeah, you're able to do so.
Yeah.
But you see, you have to claim the right. And you can only claim that right through the Uniform Commercial Code. I'm not sure if you're familiar with that kind of...
Well, we have a couple of people down here who are very much involved in this sovereignty citizenship.
Okay, well, they're on the right track.
Okay.
But first, we got to get rid of this. We have to dissolve this state of war between the federal government and American citizens.
Does it appear to you likely that the President Clinton, who was put in office by the special interests, would want to have him do this?
No, they're not going to want him to do it. We want to do it.
But will he do it because we ask him?
Yes.
How?
Because if he doesn't, then, you see, have you ever read the Constitution of the United States?
Yes, I have.
Okay. The Constitution is still in place, but it doesn't work unless you claim the right under the Constitution. Every time you sign a document, and most of the documents we sign these days has to do eventually with money, Federal Reserve notes.
Yes.
Which is colorable money because it's no longer money. It doesn't promise to pay anything. Since 1933. It all happened with that act in 1933.
Oh, boy.
We're not using the Federal Reserve notes to pay off debt. We're using it to discharge debt with limited liability.
Yes.
To be able to pay a debt, you have to give something of intrinsic value, and you get something back of intrinsic value.
I've got a whole mess of questions for you, Jacques. I've got a caller from Pompano on the line for you. So let's go to Jeannie next. Hi, Jeannie.
Hi, Dan. Jacques Jaikaran, I do have your book. I have read most of it. I have to commend you on your bibliography and the way it was all put together.
I'll tell you right now, Jeannie, he spent 14 years doing his own study and research, and I have to applaud him for what he's done.
I haven't gone into any kind of research as far as your bibliography goes, but that's one of the most important factors in reading any kind of a book. If I can go to the back and look at where you got your sources and check any of them out, that is the basis on which I will applaud you in my own sense.
Jacques did a superb job.
The thing I know, at one particular stage in the book, you said that one of the biggest ways in which the people can do the thing that they have to do to make their government aware that they should be working for the people, and it was stated that Congress, in our Constitution, Congress is the only place in which we can create money. They have the power to create money. Our Treasury, our United States Treasury. They can make the money.
Correct.
And if the banks are incorrect and if they are fraudulent and making money out of thin air, we can claim they're fraudulent, and we collectively or individually as a large group can file a lawsuit against them.
I agree with you totally.
And if and when that should happen, you did state that everything would not fall apart, that the Congress at that point would step in.
But would they, Jacques?
And do things the correct way.
Well, you see, until I received this information about 3 weeks ago,
yes,
I thought that that's what they would do. But now I realize that the congressmen are also now enemies of the people.
So they have their hands tied through this particular law, or...
That's right. It's two statutes that were passed, and these are under the emergency, it's called the War Powers Act. And it's 2039 and 2040.
But you said the president can step in and declare it a...
Yes, only the president can do it, not the Congress or the Senate. Only the president can do this.
Could that be the reason why a certain number of our presidents have been assassinated, and it's been suspected that they were trying to do something like this?
I really don't know, but that could very well be.
So even if Clinton had the guts to do something like this,
which he doesn't,
he would possibly find himself in the same kind of a predicament.
Well, that's assuming that the other ones were killed because of that.
You also stated that if we did set up a monetary system or something that we can never go back under the gold standard.
Because there's not enough gold to actually back up the amount of money that's required.
We would have to start mining gold in our own country to do that.
Yes.
Which would probably be very, very expensive.
Yes.
I have heard through the times that the reason we haven't done that is because of the expense involved in...
What about silver?
Well, you could go back, to silver as well. But let me give you this scenario. If we back our money supply with a metal, and there is a demand for money in the marketplace, a tremendous demand, because somebody came up with a brand new idea to produce something that everybody needs. And then the metal is not there to support that additional issuance of money, then that project will not go ahead. We should not, money in itself has no intrinsic value. There's no need why we need to back it up. But what's wrong with our money system is, number one, it's all created as debt. That means it becomes mathematically impossible to repay the total debt, because the interest that's required to repay the borrowed principal has never been created. So you can't do it.
In other words, what you're trying to say is if our government did get to a point where they made the money, they printed the paper, they printed the money, needless to say what they're going to do with the Federal Reserve. I don't know what they're going to do with all the money.
Well, they can make it part of the National Treasury.
They could make it a part of the National Treasury?
Yes.
Okay, and if they're creating this money, they're making it debt-free insofar as public service is concerned, or
right.
Public?
Whatever the government is going to spend into the economy,
that would be debt-free.
That would be debt-free.
Because then that keeps them from taxing us to pay off of this great debt that keeps accumulating because of interest.
Well, it's for two reasons you want to do that. Number one, it will eliminate income tax. But the more important reason is that the private sector are still going to borrow money. They'll go to the banks, and the banks will go to the National Treasury.
At a low interest rate.
At a low interest rate, and turn around and lend at a high interest rate. But the private sector normally spends about 4 to 5 times as much as the government will spend every year. Now, all the money that the private sector is going to be bringing into the economy is debt money. So if there was no debt-free money from which they could earn the interest that they're required to repay their debt, then you're going to have a lot of people failing through defaults, bankruptcies, and foreclosures. The reason for the debt-free expenditure by the government would be to prevent people from failing in the economy through defaults, bankruptcies, and foreclosures because of the system, because of a shortage of money.
Well, it just seems like such a mad rat race out there, because the guy who has the extra bucks to go in and claim somebody else's foreclosed property is a sort of a greedy type of thing, whether you do it on a small scale or a large scale.
I agree.
And naturally, if I had a few bucks, I'd be out there looking for that foreclosed property myself.
Right. But you see, if there is enough money to pay off all the debt, then the guy isn't going to go bankrupt because of a shortage of money.
And it's the same thing with the poor, the people that are on welfare. Instead of the government giving them free housing, they should find some way that these people will be hold their heads up high and have some kind of esteem in paying off their own properties and buying at cheaper prices or cheaper rates.
Correct. Instead of welfare, why not workfare? Let the government...
Well, that's the best idea. Isn't that what Thatcher did in England?
Yes.
Wasn't that the point?
Yeah,
She tried to turn her economy around?
Let the government create debt-free money and start up programs that can put people to work, that will benefit, everybody else.
And then you get taxes to run the government.
Well, no, you're not going to need any taxes for running the government, because if the government is creating money to finance itself, then it doesn't need to collect taxes.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Right, then we get rid of the IRS.
Thank you very much.
Federal
But you see...
But, Jacques, does this seem likely to happen, though?
Well, listen, if it doesn't happen, we are all done. We are going down the tube.
You know why it may happen, Dan? There are so many people, such as the patriot groups, that are forming. And there's a certain percentage of people in this country now that are not paying taxes, and they're signing themselves off as the sovereigns, which they should be and are.
I understand, Jacques. Jacques, I understand that there's 18 million that haven't filed taxes for April 15th.
Who is the IRS telling you that?
No, but that's what I understand.
Well, if the IRS tells you that, you can bet the number is much bigger than that.
There is a certain percentage, and they call it, what do they call it, a gray area or something like that?
No, it's not a gray area. You see, if you read the IRS code book, and I didn't read all of it, but I read many of the appropriate parts. It says anyone liable to file a tax must file. Now, that language implies that if some people are liable, there have got to be other people who are not liable.
Correct.
Okay?
Well, the thing is, they're so strong and they have so much power that anyone who may want to do or go in that kind of travel in that kind of a street is hesitant because of all the trouble it may cause them. I mean, I certainly don't want to be an example of someone who's put in jail because I'm going to put the thing to a test.
Well, no. It's been put to the test long already, and lots of people they're walking freely, and they're not paying taxes. I have on my desk here a court case, the transcript of the entire case, which occurred in October last year, October 93, in Tennessee.
Yeah.
IRS versus a fellow by the name of John Long for willful failure to file income tax.
And what happened?
Who won?
Long.
John Long won.
Because?
Because he's not liable.
All right, what was he cited as not paying income tax on? Was that wages?
No. There are people who are not liable to pay an income tax. Only the IRS codes were set up
for aliens to pay.
Or only employees of the federal government.
Or employees of the federal government, right.
Right.
It's supposed to be a rebate or something like that.
That's right.
To the government. Or aliens, any monies you're earning outside of the United States. Or people coming in from other countries earning monies are supposed to pay.
But you see, what the federal government did was they made all the citizens employees of the United States through what's known as adhesion contracts, like your Social Security card.
So how does that stand up in court?
Your bank? Oh, it stands up very well in court.
Well, then we're all supposed to pay. Is that on the basis on which they...
No, what you have to do is you have to break your adhesion contract. Once you don't have a contract to pay anymore, then you don't pay.
In other words, become that sovereign that Dan was talking about.
That's right.
Completely abstract yourself from this whole operation.
Be a free person, right.
But if you've paid in all these years to Social Security, surely you want to get your money back?
Yes.
Well, the thing is, Jacques, if I have a little bit of property somewhere and I put myself in that position and I decide I'm going to do that, they're going to throw all kinds of liens against my property.
No, they will not. No, not if you do it properly. The problem is that the people who have tried this before in the past, many of them, they tried it, but they didn't do it correctly.
Yeah.
Now more and more people have found out exactly how to do it. And these people are being left alone, totally.
Okay, I got to take a break.
All right.
I got to take a break.
Thanks a lot, Dan.
Thank you, Gene.
Bye.
Let me ask you this, Jacques. If it turns out that we're dealing with paper money that has no value, I mean, they could have what they call a bank holiday or shut the banks down and we'd be stuck with what we've got.
Correct.
Which is nothing.
And they did that in 1933, my friend.
Oh, geez. Man alive.
You see, under emergency powers, they can do anything they want, or they feel they can do anything they want. I don't know when the people are going to wake up to realize that it's the people, we the people are the power, not the people in Washington, D.C.
Oh, gee, let me go to a caller. J.D. in Lantana, jump in.
This is the other J.D. I'm from Jupiter.
Jupiter, I beg your pardon. Go ahead, J.D.
Hey, listen, Jacques, how you doing?
Good.
I was your escort about a year and a half ago in Minneapolis.
We both right?
Airport. And then I drove you over to the
Yeah, I remember.
the convention center. Yeah, good.
Yeah.
Good to see you. Hey, let me ask you, do you know anything about when the Great Smoky National Park changed some kind of hands from a national park to some kind of an international biosphere?
Gee, I mean, that's news to me,
And
JD.
if it was sold, if it was sold to internationalists, I wonder if it was sold to pay off debt.
Well, let me put it this way.
I don't know. I really don't.
I got a hold, Jock, of the guy who had written that in his column, Tex Mars.
Yeah, okay, he's from Austin, Texas.
Correct. And when I spoke to Tex Mars on this program, I asked him about that particular thing.
Right.
And he told me that was all new to him. I said, but you wrote it. It's in your column.
Yeah.
He says he wasn't aware of anything of that happening.
I'll be darned. A switcheroo, huh?
So I was shocked.
I didn't even know that, he wrote that.
Yeah.
But you know what? I will not be surprised if they're selling out bits, large chunks of territories, federal territories here.
Well, I understand that the Federal Reserve banks that are owed so much money from Brazil that they went ahead and purchased or had to give away, Brazilian government had to give away something like 46% of the Brazilian rainforest.
Yeah.
To make up for the debt they owed the Federal Reserve banks.
Listen,
It may not be that bad if they keep it pristine or pretty much pristine, at least if
Oh, no. They're going to get the lumber. They're going to get for one.
now just a minute. The international bankers can foreclose on the whole planet right now.
right.
But why would they want to? That would be stupid.
Why?
What would they gain?
Well, gee, then they can tell us exactly, where are we going to live, what are we going to be doing. Remember, we are
You know what would happen, Jacques?
Huh?
What would happen? There would be a world revolution.
Oh, I think that's coming before the year 2000 anyway.
But they'll have, Dan, they'll have our guns here in 3 years, and then we won't be able to fight back with...
I don't believe that. Do you believe that, Jacques, that they're going to have our guns?
I think the American people are going to be terribly, terribly stupid to give up their firearms. That's the only thing that's preventing the international bankers from foreclosing now.
Yep.
I don't believe that's going to happen, though. There's 240 million right now, Jacques, in this country. They have 220 million or 240 million guns.
But Dan, there is a big push in Washington. People who own the guns need to become informed to find out what is the motive behind this.
Oh, they know.
You know what the reason for the Second Amendment is?
What?
It isn't for the people to protect themselves against other citizens. If you read the Federalist Papers...
It's to protect against the tyranny of the government.
Thank you very much. You got the answer.
Oh, yeah. And the American people are beginning to notice that.
Good. We need to tell them that.
But they're knowing it. They do know it.
Yeah, the people need the guns to protect themselves from their own tyrannical government. And remember, our government is now the enemy of the people.
How good,
They have that on paper.
Jacques, how good would our silver and gold be if they changed the currency on us? How good would this be?
Oh, it'll be good because you can always barter with that. People always, in times of any kind of catastrophe, economic or otherwise, people who've got supplies of food and stores or anything tangible that they want to trade, first of all, they're going to want other tangible things that they can use. But if they don't need anything, then the other thing they're going to take first is gold and silver.
Well, I got my bag.
Well, that's good.
JD.
Yeah.
It won't be enough, Dave.
But
Well, it might keep me for a couple months.
no, it'll
Anyway.
probably keep you longer than that.
Yeah, Jacques, I really appreciate you, guy. And Dan, I don't care what anybody says. You are writing my book, guy.
Okay, man.
All right.
Thank
see
you.
Okay, JD.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
And we again have some lines available if you want to jump in with my special guest, Jacques Jaikaran, the sensational author of the best-selling Debt Virus, a compelling solution to the world's debt crisis.
Hey, Dan, you need to tell them where they can get the book.
That's what I'm going to do right now.
1-800.
Correct.
448.
Go ahead.
4332. That's the publisher's number.
Say that again.
1-800.
Right.
448. 4332.
Let me do that loud for once more. The 800 number for the book, Debt Virus, from the publisher, 800-448-4332. And I think it goes, what, for $20?
Something like that. And they can also get it at B. Dalton bookstores.
Okay. Has your book been in any way, have they tried to kind of suppress it?
I don't, I have not heard anything. But I'm sure, in a way, the answer is yes, because nobody wants to do a review of the book.
Nobody does, huh?
No.
Look at that.
None of the media. But one day it got aired on C-SPAN.
No kidding. You mean it sneaked through and it got through?
It sneaked, it happened in such a way. Have you heard of a fellow by the name of Irv Homer?
No.
He's got a big talk show. He's like the Rush Limbaugh, but he's like on our side,
Yeah.
He's the patriotic group, but he's got just not as big an audience, but very large.
Where?
He's from Pennsylvania.
But where in Pennsylvania?
I think just outside I think it's Philadelphia.
Okay, and what's his name?
Irv, A-I-R-V, Homer, H-O-M-E-R.
Okay.
He's a blockbuster, and so C-SPAN had him as a guest.
Okay.
And they had a congressman from New Jersey,
Yeah.
and they were discussing the economy. And then he told the congressman, he said, if you guys really want to fix the economy, why don't you read Debt Virus by Dr. Jacques Jaikaran, the plastic surgeon from Texas?
Right.
And Irv Homer told them that on C-SPAN.
No kidding.
And he was the guest.
Did they discuss the book at all?
No.
No.
They didn't want to discuss
I
that.
didn't want to do that, no. So, actually speaking, what you're indicating at this point is that we are at war, or at least the federal government is at war with the American citizens.
Yes, we are the enemy of the federal government.
That's unbelievable.
It's on paper.
How is it you were able to find this out only 3 weeks ago?
Because there's a big, I told you there are patriotic groups
All over the
all
country.
across the United States.
Yes.
And they're big groups that all they do is they do research
Yeah.
on the legal system.
Yeah.
And they go back all the way to the congressional records and find out how come the government is passing all kinds of laws that are contrary to the Constitution of the United States? Because it clearly states in the American jurisprudence that for any law to be lawful, it has to be in pursuance. It has to be in agreement with the Constitution of the United States. But you see, what they did was they realized that if they could declare war and the president could rule by executive orders,
Yes.
the Constitution is suspended. Whenever
In other words, Jacques, it's not valid.
no, the Constitution
It's
is
not valid.
suspended whenever. Yes, that's right. They don't have to follow the Constitution.
Correct.
When the country is at war,
Yeah.
and so that's what they did, to suspend the Constitution.
But Jacques, we are physically, literally, emotionally, psychologically, and otherwise not at war with the government.
We are not, but they think that they are with us. And as long as that is in place in the statute, then lawfully we are at war. That's why they can confiscate all our property anytime they wish.
Is every president so
Since Roosevelt, every single one.
has been told about this?
Yes. And the Supreme Court knows about it. The district attorneys from the various states, they all know about it.
And nobody's made a move to rescind it.
No. Because, the bankers simply told them, look, we're going to keep you guys good and fat. We'll give you everything you want. All you have to do is just carry out the laws the way we want it. And remember, if they are the creditors in a bankruptcy, who has the right to make the rules? And the creditor.
Well, Jacques, what you're telling me actually is that this is actually treason.
Yes. That's the word. Because when the treason is defined in Article 3, Section 3 of the U.S. Constitution.
Yes.
Right?
Oh, yeah.
And let me see if I can put my hands on it here, and I'll read it to you. It says, treason against the United States shall consist only in levying war against them.
And this is what's been done.
And that's what the government did. Declared war against the United States. They are all guilty of treason.
Jesus. So the only thing we can do now is to...
We got to let the people know.
Well, what we've got to do is let the people know so the people can tell...
Well, we have an organization here...
If the congressmen and the senators know and the president knows, then why should we, the people, and if we all know it, what good is it going to do if they're not going to do anything about it?
No. Hold it. I mean, we have to, first of all, assert our sovereignty, we the people. And we'll just go to their offices when they come here for their tongue meetings, and you just go there with a rope.
You mean hanging Sam?
That's right.
Oh, boy.
It's coming to that.
Judge Roy Bean of the West.
Yep. We have an organization in Texas. It's called Take Texas Back. Back from the federal government.
Yes.
You know, the federal government has no jurisdiction in the state.
In any state?
In any state. The only place they have jurisdiction by the Constitution of the United States is the 10-mile square in Washington, D.C.
That's it.
And the Virgin Islands, Puerto Rico, American Samoa, and Guam.
That's it.
That's it. Or in the various different states, if they have a piece of land that's been ceded to them by the state legislature, not the federal legislature.
Yes.
A piece of land that's been ceded to the federal government, like for a special purpose, like if they want to put like a military camp or an armory or a magazine.
Yes.
For storage things. That's the only pieces of land on which the federal government has jurisdiction. But you see what they tricked us. Since 1933, they've been getting all these states.
And all these FDR lovers out there saying, what a wonderful man.
Wonderful man?
What a super guy.
Yeah, sure.
What a nice man.
Traitor extraordinaire.
Unbelievable. Have you been able to have this in print?
I've got it in print here. I've got the copies of the congressional records.
If people want to get...
I've got certified copies.
If people want to get that copy, can they write to the publisher?
No, I'll tell them where to write them.
Okay. Give it to me.
That book over there. That gray one. I'll give you.
Okay.
Let them write to this number because there's a group out of Colorado that did a wonderful job and they put all this stuff in a little booklet called War and Emergency Powers.
War
and Emergency Powers.
Emergency. I'm going to write this down.
Emergency Powers, yeah.
Hold it. Okay.
Okay, they can do one of two things. They can call a phone number.
Okay, and that's an 800 number? No.
Just a minute. Let me see if there's an 800 number here.
Okay.
Okay, I don't have the number here, but let me give you an address.
Okay.
It says mail to War and Emergency Powers.
Yeah.
4656.
4656.
Alta Vista.
ALTA.
VISTA.
One word?
Yes, two words.
Okay, Vista.
Dallas. Texas.
Yeah.
75229.
Jesus. And
they even also have a videotape on all the documents.
No kidding.
But a book comes with it. There's an audio tape that comes.
And what does it cost?
I think, let's see, total, just for the book alone will be like, let's see, the book here is $20.
Yeah.
The videotape is $25. And that includes shipping and handling.
And the video.
But this is must reading for every freedom-loving American. Whether you like freedom or not, every American should find out what their government is doing to them.
So you would write to War...
write to them.
War and Emergency Powers,
right.
4656 Alta Vista in Dallas, Texas, 75229. The book goes for $20, video for $25.
Right. And there's a phone number.
Okay.
817.
Wait a minute. 817
569
569
4582. And that is in, just call that number and they'll give you all the information you need on war and emergency powers.
Okay.
It's devastating information.
And this was unearthed just
Just recently.
Recently?
Yeah.
Unbelievable. We're going to take a break for the news at 5 o'clock, Jacques. We're going to come back.
All right.
And get into a little bit more depth of your book as well, okay?
All right.
So I'm going to put you on hold and take a breather for 5, and we'll come back in 5 minutes.
5 minutes?
Yeah.
Okay.
The government is at war with the American people.
That's it. You see, and by doing that, then they can suspend the Constitution of the United States. Whenever the government is at war, the Constitution doesn't apply anymore.
So
that's why when people go to court and they try to bring up the Constitution, judge tells them, do not bring up the Constitution.
Because
it doesn't
apply.
It doesn't apply anymore. As long as the war power statutes are in effect.
Well, but we don't know why unless we ask.
That's correct.
But if we ask, we won't be told anyway.
That's right.
The judge will say, well, you're... Hi, this is Dan.
Lantana, Jupiter.